Did you know that posting quote unquote hate speech in Germany is a crime? If you do it, the police might come to your house, raid it, take your electronics, and give you a fine. And if you do it enough, you might get sent to the penitentiary to make big rocks to little rocks. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Germany locking people up over quote unquote hate speech posted online. So if you're a troll and you're posting things that are offensive or untrue about somebody, maybe some bullying or something like that going on, the police may raid your home, take your electronics, hit you with a big fine. Now, you do this enough, you get to be a career, quote unquote, online troll. You could get sent to the penitentiary to make big rocks to little. Now, this is not what we do over in the USA. We got a little thing called freedom of speech. And you know why we have that? Because the founding fathers were European and or had European ancestry recently, and they understood what a lack of freedom of speech in Europe meant. So our very first amendment is freedom of speech. The Second Amendment, right to bear arms, because they know number two is going to protect number one. They knew that already. And an example of Europeans having a problem with freedom of speech, Galileo, prime example. 400 years ago, he said that the earth revolved around the sun and not the other way around. The idea of heliocentrism was considered heresy, and he got put on trial by the church for this. Now, obviously, Galileo was right. And if we're not able to have these differing points of view, you're not able to actually advance. You're going to stay in the Stone Age forever. Okay. You're going to be in the cave with sticks and stones at best if you're not able to have differing points of view. Hey, how can we do that better? How can we do that quicker? You can't have that type of discourse without freedom of speech. Now, before I go too far into it, let's get to a few clips here. First, we have 60 Minutes in which they went on a raid with the police. Then we're going to get to JD Vance's speech. Then we're going to get to Margaret Brennan, who I hate, over at CBS, trying to justify what Germany is doing. And of course, all my links, all my sources, all my videos will be in the box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
What's the typical reaction when the police show up at somebody's door and they say, hey, we believe you wrote this on the internet?
I'm sorry I got to pause it because 60 Minutes will give you a copyright claim immediately. So I apologize.
They say, in Germany we say, das wird man wohl doch mal sagen dürfen. So we are here with crimes of talking, posting on internet, and the people are surprised that this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
What would you do if the police came to your house talking about Mr. Is this you on Twitter, Subaru fan 1984? Is this you? Well, you posted something that was offensive and then somebody lodged a complaint because they bust out crying. So, all right, hands behind your back. What would you do?
You don't think it was illegal?
No, they don't think it was illegal. And they say, no, that's my free speech. And we say, no, yeah, free speech as well, but it is also has its limits.
You don't got free speech in Europe. That's the point. You don't have it. We have it. They don't. Obviously. Let's keep on going here. Here's a raid over trolling online.
And we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany.
Hier ist die Polizei, wir mussten bitte mal mit Ihnen reden.
Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online.
How is that a crime? How is that a criminal offense? A racist cartoon? I mean, people might not like it. They might be offended, but a criminal action, it is not.
At the exact same time across Germany, more than 50 similar raids played out. Part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany.
Absolutely crazy. What do you do if this happens? And my thing is, what's the actual point? How are you actually able to reduce crime in the country? I don't really understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. Again, we have freedom of speech here, not so much over there. And that is what J.D. Vance was talking about. A lot of people over in Europe did not like this, but the question you got to ask yourself is, did he lie? Are you going to call J.D. Vance a liar?
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content.
And my question is, how do you judge what hateful content is? Like, who's going to be the hateful content czar?
Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility.
Let's pause for a minute. So, a guy who is praying silently for the child that he lost with his former partner, that guy gets prosecuted, but it's okay to actually delete the baby in the abortion facility. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page and we are understanding what's being said here. All right, let's continue.
He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law.
See, there we go. Now, look, freedom of speech, what does it also say? The government shall not establish religions or make any laws relating to establishing religion. Because going back to Europe, going back Kingdom of Great Britain, that area, all right, you want to be a Protestant? Well, now we got a problem. And again, the founding fathers understood this, which is why they said the government can't get in the way. You can't have the church also put you on trial how they did Galileo, you see?
Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
There we go. So J.D. Vance said nothing wrong here. Now, some of the Europeans did not like this too much. This is the chairman of the Munich Security Conference. He was stepping down as a chairman, so he was crying a little bit. And as he stepped down, he had a few parting words for J.D. Vance.
After the speech of Vice President Vance on Friday, we have to fear that our common value base is not that common anymore. I'm very grateful to all those European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky. Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
Soft, soft, soft. Okie dokie, there we go. Hug it out. Now let's go to Margaret Brennan and Marco Rubio talking about Germany and JD Vance, all that kind of stuff. Check it out.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
So if you don't know what she's saying right here, basically she's saying that having freedom of speech is what enabled the Holocaust to happen. So if you believe in free speech, then you believe in the Holocaust. That's what I'm hearing. Now, maybe I'm hearing that incorrectly. If you think that I'm right or wrong, let me know in the comments below.
And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews.
Exactly. And then the thing about it is, if you have a regime in power that stops certain speech from happening that is actually what some would like, then are you going to say that there's a problem with freedom of speech? Like, my whole thing is, who's going to be the regulator of what good speech and bad speech is? Why not just let all the speech out there? The good ideas will rise to the top. The bad ideas will get shunned. That's how it's supposed to work.
There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe, and that's of concern because that is eroding. That's not an erosion of your military capabilities. That's not an erosion of your economic standing. That's an erosion of the actual values that bind us together in this transatlantic union that everybody talks about.
Very well said, Marco. There's more to that, but I'll link to it in the box. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to everybody who appreciates the importance of freedom of speech and really understands it. You got to have freedom of speech in the nation to have freedom and to go forward. If you don't have freedom of speech, that's how you have true authoritarian regimes. That's how you have true oppression, when you're not able to say whatever you want to say. And also when you're not able to arm yourself. Again, this is why the founding fathers said we got the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, because they're complementary and necessary for this nation to survive. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about JD Vance's speech? What's your opinion about Germany going to people's houses and rating it over bad speech or offensive speech, whatever that means? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I am 100% against places with no freedom of speech. I'm 100% for freedom of speech. Hey, I might not like what you say. I might not like you as a person, but I'm not going to say you can't say what you want. You say what you want. I say what I want. And the people will decide what makes the most sense to them. That's the way it's supposed to be. Without that, you don't have true freedom. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.